Welcome to the video, guys. You might remember the article we can see on the screen here. I covered it along with another one at the time on the 17th of May in relation to Ian Blackford and other Remainer MPs sending a letter to Michel Barnier begging for a Brexit extension, which is not up to them as we know, neither is it up to Michel Barnier. It's up to Boris Johnson and the Tory government that is in power at the moment. It was nothing new, we've seen it multiple times over the course of the last couple of years from these Remainer MPs, trying their absolute hardest to stop Brexit at all costs, as we have seen recently with the hypocritical Dominic Cummings scandal. That is a storm in a teacup, as I have said, and thankfully Durham police have put an end to today, so it should die out rather quickly from now on, because my reading of the statement suggests that Durham police are calling the Guardian a liar for printing unnamed sources saying Dominic Cummings was in Durham on the 19th of April, which they have proven to be false. But that is not the topic of this video, because yesterday it was reported that Michel Barnier had responded, saying the EU remains open to the transition period extension, which is nonsense. It's not going to happen. It will be the end of Boris Johnson's political career if he ever did. While he may well remain as an MP, which given his area is still not likely, he would not be remembered as the Churchillian figure that he wants to be. He wants to get Brexit done, be seen to get it done, so he can be remembered as the person who got the United Kingdom out of Europe. He wants that as his legacy. It is beyond doubt. Michel Barnier, the EU's chief negotiator, has told opposition MPs at Westminster that Brussels remains open to extending the transition period by up to 2 years, as talks on a future trade deal continue to founder. Good. Mr Barnier's letter sent on Monday came as David Frost, his British counterpart in talks on a future UK-EU relationship, admitted that both sides remain far apart on issues including fisheries and Brussels' demands for a level playing field on state aid, tax, environmental and labour laws, as we already know. Mr Frost, giving evidence to MPs on the Parliamentary Committee on the future relationship with the EU on Wednesday, admitted that agreement on a post-Brexit fishing regime viewed as crucial to unlocking a trade deal was unlikely to be secured by the target date of June 30th. It's not an absolute requirement, he told the MPs. I'm beginning to think we might not make it by June 30th, but we will keep on trying. That's obviously because the EU are demanding the same access as they have now, and rightfully so. David Frost is telling them to stick it up their arse. Against the economic chaos caused by coronavirus, Mr Barnier again offered Britain the chance to avoid further business upheaval by extending the transition period agreed as part of Boris Johnson's Brexit deal last year to the end of 2022, which cannot happen, and Boris Johnson better not do it. I really don't think he will, but he is a politician. Anything is always possible. And here is the letter. I'll read it out because I'll only go and write it down there, so I might as well read it here. Dear Honourable and Right Honourable Members of Parliament, thank you for your letter of the 15th of May, which as I said I covered on the 17th of May when it must have arrived to him. I remain keen on and interested in hearing the views of British political parties and stakeholders in order to appreciate all dimensions of the national debate. Now, I don't know if you've noticed something there that he didn't want to hear from the British people who voted to leave. I wonder why that is. Oh yeah, because we'll laugh in his face and tell him we're off. The European Union remains determined to build a new and ambitious partnership with the United Kingdom in the short time that is available, given your government's repeated statements that it will not agree an extension to the transition period, as it shouldn't. I take note on your views on a possible extension to the transition period. Such an extension of up to 1 to 2 years can be agreed jointly by the two parties. The European Union has always said that we remain open on this matter. Any extension decision has to be taken by the Joint Committee before July 1st and must be accompanied by an agreement on a financial contribution by the UK, which is obviously what they're after really, and the whole reason for extending the Brexit transition period, along with of course the fact that it would undermine the Tory government and possibly put Labour in power. Though I really wouldn't know what situation would occur if that was to happen and the Tories were to betray us in regards to Brexit, because it's not like another political party can ever take the reins. We have a monopoly for Labour and the Tories. The letter continues though, regardless of the extension issue, please rest assured assured that the EU side will continue to do its utmost to reach an ambitious and balanced partnership agreement with the United Kingdom along the lines agreed with the government of the United Kingdom in the political declaration in October 2019. My team and I remain at your disposal for any further exchanges, and obviously it's got the list of the names there that it was addressed to: Ian Blackford MP, Ed Davey MP, Liz Saville Roberts, Colum Eastwood, Caroline Lucas and Stephen Farry. Now we already know what he said in it. Mr Frost told MPs he was working under the firm instruction from Mr Johnson, the UK's Prime Minister, that the transition period would not be extended beyond December 31st. Mr Frost was flanked by Michael Gove, Cabinet Office Minister, who faced tough questioning on whether British businesses would be ready for a new customs and regulatory regime for trade with its biggest partner by the end of the year. Well, that's its biggest partner at the moment. That could well change once we are free and independent. Who knows how big a trade deal with other nations could be. It might start becoming more lucrative to send our stuff elsewhere other than the EU, because everything they're talking around is always based around the European Union being part of it, when, as an independent nation, we don't have to bother with that. Hilary Benn, the Labour MP and one of the treacherous dogs from the last Parliament, raised a Financial Times article in which freight industry leaders warned that Britain was likely to miss targets to hire and train the 50,000 new custom agents industry estimated would be required to handle the new bureaucracy. Well, that is absolute nonsense, because most of it is done by a computer using an electronic thing that they have 6 months to put in. The Port of Dover announced this last year. It's not what they are claiming. This is more Project Fear. The boss of Dover stated in the media last year that 96% of all goods coming from inside or outside the EU are dealt with in seconds, with the majority of what's left being dealt with in under 2 hours. Simply because we already have an automated system in there, not only for the European Union, but also for non-European Union countries. Well, after David Frost and Michael Gove slapped down any chance of an extension, Boris Johnson also did the same. As is reported in this Express article here, Boris cuts down Michel Barnier's 2-year extension plea in 5 brutal words. Boris Johnson has fired back at Michel Barnier's plea that the EU is open to a 2-year extension to Brexit today. The EU's chief negotiator wrote to the UK opposition parties to state the EU is still willing to accept a 2-year extension to Brexit. The deadline to extend the transition period ends on June 30th and is currently scheduled to end on December the 31st, 2020. Despite Mr Barnier's stated openness to a 2-year extension, the Prime Minister's spokesman stated that the government's position has not changed. The spokesman said, "No change to the government's position. The transition period will end on December 31st. So, Ian Blackford and your little Remoaning friends, you better suck it up. By the looks of it, your extension is never going to happen. The ones that we've already had over the last couple of years should never really have happened anyway." Now it would appear Boris Johnson is actually going to prevent it, unlike obviously Maybot did and the Remoaner Parliament of 2017 to 2019 tried last year, which obviously only got them a 3-month extension before we left the EU. This bit just talks about the letter that we already read out. We don't need to go over that. Following Mr Barnier's letter, his counterpart David Frost has stated the EU must change its position if an agreement is to be agreed. With talks set to resume next month, Mr Frost said the EU must evolve its position as he spoke to the Commons Committee on the future relationship with the European Union, as we took a look at a moment ago. He said, "Our view at the moment is that the mandate, at least in key areas, is not a mandate that is likely to produce an agreement. A related question is if the EU must formally change its mandate or not. Well, if it wants a deal, I would suggest it better do that, because otherwise it's going to end up shit creek and we'll have a no-deal Brexit and be laughing our asses off. I remember last autumn we were told often the EU had to change its mandate if we wanted a different outcome on the Northern Ireland backstop. To my knowledge, it never did, formally, but nevertheless changed its position." Asked on the chances of an extension, Mr Frost said government policy is that an extension will not be requested. It cannot be requested because it will make Boris Johnson look weak, and everyone who voted for him in relation to Brexit will be off quicker than you can know about it. He thinks the media reporting on the Cummings scandal was something to worry about. This will be a hell of a lot worse, I can tell you that much for nothing. The negotiator also revealed the Prime Minister will attend Brexit talks next month. He said the expectation on both sides is that these are done at leader level. and therefore, yes, the Prime Minister would attend. Which I don't think really helps matters. Boris should just tell David Frost, you stick to the lines that I've given you, or you go with a WTO Brexit. And that's the end of any information that actually matters there. So you can see the EU, along with the Remainers, are still trying to delay Brexit, as we have seen with the Dominic Cummings situation recently, involving obviously the media and their attempts to smear him, while of course forgetting about every other MP and most of the country that has been openly flouting the lockdown rules. We are approaching a tense time at the moment where EU news and Brexit news may well start stepping up. We will have to keep our eye out for what is actually going on, especially if the media, like they have been this week, are focusing on a non-story while letting lots of others go under the radar. Now before I go, I've started doing live streams and uploading gaming content on my second channel. If you would like to come and join me for a live stream to chat in real time, have an interest in gaming related content on YouTube, or just want to follow me over there because you are a legend, the link will be down in the video description below and as a pinned comment. I hope to see you all there. Now as always, before I go, I want to thank our PayPal, Patreon, Subscribestar and YouTube members for supporting the channel, along with everyone who watches my videos. Remember to let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe with the notification bell and share this video as it helps the channel a lot, and I will see you all in the next one.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors. Slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires. And that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going, and we are glad to be going. We're off.